Hey guys, this is Clinton Jeff from UnleashThePhones.com and this is my review of the Xiaomi Mi Pad. Now I don't really review too many Android tablets because they're more or less the same old story. The affordable ones are all kinda ugh. And the expensive ones are kinda too expensive. I mean, if you're gonna spend that much money, you might as well buy an iPad, right? Which is why I was very intrigued when the Xiaomi Mi Pad was announced. It seems to boast some very impressive specs for a very affordable price tag. So is it yet another great value for money product from Xiaomi? Here's what I think about the Xiaomi Mi Pad. Alright, starting with design, the best way to describe the Mi Pad would be a larger iPhone 5C. Honestly, that really is the best way to describe how it looks, and Xiaomi has been very inspired by Apple's design here. I mean, that's not too bad a thing, it worked for Samsung, right? The Mi Pad has a shiny plastic shell that has rounded corners which make it very comfortable to hold and use. In China, the Mi Pad comes in a whole bunch of very cool colors including pink, blue, yellow, and a couple other colors, I think. In India though, only the white color version of the Mi Pad will be sold. Measuring 202 by 135 by 8.5 millimeters, the Mi Pad is a millimeter thicker than the iPad mini. Weighing 360 grams, it also is 30 grams heavier than the iPad mini. Not that those differences mean anything at all, to be honest. Build quality is actually really impressive for something that's made primarily out of plastic. Sure, it doesn't feel as solid as the all-metal iPad mini, but it definitely feels like a tablet that should have cost a lot more. I'm also really glad that Xiaomi went with a more compact size to make a tablet, because the Mi Pad is a lot easier to carry around than a giant 10-inch tablet, and if you travel a lot or just commute to and from work every day, this size is really the most convenient to have a tablet in. Still, it is big enough that you will need both hands to use it very comfortably. Moving on, at the front of the Xiaomi Mi Pad is a 7.9-inch IPS LCD display at a very high 1536 by 248 pixel resolution. That results in 324 ppi of pixel density, which is decent enough. That IPS screen is actually very responsive. It also happens to be fully laminated with good old-fashioned Gorilla Glass 3 protection. Also, unlike most Android tablets out there, the aspect ratio of the Xiaomi Mi Pad is 4:3. This also happens to be kinda similar to the aspect ratio of the iPad mini. As a result of that high resolution, icons and text all look really sharp and clear on that screen, and the pixel density is actually well into Apple's Retina territory. So honestly, there's no way you'd be able to spot an individual pixel on the screen. Colors are nicely saturated and viewing angles are pretty okay, but that being said, the screen doesn't get quite bright enough to be used on a very sunny day outside. This is also partly due to the very moody auto brightness on the screen. Apart from that, there's quite a bit of bezel all around that display, but considering this is a tablet, it does make it easier to hold. Above the display, you'll find a centrally located 5 megapixel front-facing camera with the Mi logo on the left side, and there's also a notification light and an ambient light sensor hidden somewhere around here. Below the display, you'll find the usual 3 capacitive touch keys for recent apps, home, and back. The keys are backlit, which is very appreciated. It's also interesting to see that the home button does look very inspired by the shape of the iPad home button. Coming to the rest of the tablet, at the top you'll just find the 3.5mm headphone jack, while at the bottom you'll just find the micro USB charging port. On the left side you'll find no keys or buttons whatsoever, but there is a port for the micro SD card, and on the right side you'll just find the power and screen lock button and the volume rocker button. They have a kind of fake metal coating to them which does make it feel a little cheap, but otherwise the buttons are easy enough to find and use. Coming to the back, you'll find the 8 megapixel rear camera, and you'll find the speaker grills right towards the bottom. The glossy back panel means that the Mi Pad can be kind of slippery to hold, so you'd probably want to be careful when you're holding this with one hand. The glossy finish also tends to pick up fingerprints and dirt very easily. All in all, the Xiaomi Mi Pad looks nice enough for an Android tablet nowadays, though if you're lucky enough to get one in a fun color, that would definitely stand out more. Alright, let's talk about hardware. The Xiaomi Mi Pad is powered by NVIDIA's Tegra K1 processor, which makes it quite the beast. The quad-core Tegra K1 consists of 4 Cortex A15 cores clocked at 2.2 GHz with 2 GB of RAM, and if that wasn't enough, there's also a desktop-grade Kepler GPU. As a result, the Xiaomi Mi Pad can pretty much handle any Android game that you throw at it, no matter how intense the game is. Asphalt 8 and a couple games from the Tegra zone like Riptide GP2 all ran really smooth on the Mi Pad with no frame drops or stutters whatsoever. It's suffice to say that the Mi Pad can also easily handle your everyday tasks and apps. That being said, the Mi Pad does tend to get a little bit warm if you're playing a very intensive 3D game, but all in all, NVIDIA has done a pretty good job with the Tegra K1 processor. As always guys, if you're a fan of benchmark results, you can check those out right over at UnleashThePhones.com, just in case you want to see how powerful that Tegra K1 processor actually is. Moving on, in China, the Mi Pad is available in both 16GB and 64GB versions. Unfortunately, in India, only the 16GB version is being sold right now, but that isn't a big deal because there is a micro SD card slot as well. Out of the 16GB of internal memory, about 13GB is actually available to use. It's also worth mentioning that the Mi Pad is a Wi-Fi only tablet and does not have a cellular version, but still in terms of connectivity, there's Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.0 and even USB on the go, but there is no GPS and no NFC. Alright, let's talk about software. The Xiaomi Mi Pad runs MIUI 6, which is based on Android 4.4.4 KitKat. We've all seen MIUI a couple times before running on the Xiaomi Mi 4 and the Xiaomi Redmi 2, but this time around it's been slightly customized to suit a larger, higher resolution display, and this is very evident in some of the built-in apps. Xiaomi has done a good job making sure all of their built-in apps really take advantage of that larger display, but overall it's the same clean, minimalistic UI that we've seen before. That being said, this time around there is no theme store available, so you can't really change up much of the UI. This isn't really a big surprise because most of those themes on the theme store were made for phones and probably wouldn't look that great on a high resolution 4:3 aspect ratio display. Apart from that, it's your same usual MIUI, and just like other Chinese OEMs, there's no separate app drawer or list of apps. Instead, all your widgets and apps are laid out on a collection of home screen panels. But this time around, you can't have both widgets and apps on one home screen panel. Instead, you can choose just to have widgets on a home screen panel or apps on a home screen panel, which kind of does tend to make it look neater overall. But you'd still need some organization skills to make sure everything doesn't look too cluttered. I've actually reviewed a lot of Chinese phones in the last couple of weeks, so I'm really used to this UI right now. Still, if you prefer to have a separate list of apps, you can always install another launcher on top. I should also mention that there are a whole bunch of Google apps pre-installed, just like you'd expect. I say this because the Chinese version of the Mi Pad does not have any Google apps pre-installed. Alright, apart from that, just like on Xiaomi phones, you can pinch out to edit the home screens. You can also change the transition effects or add widgets or change the wallpaper. Apart from that, it's your same old MIUI with the same drop-down notification panel, and the usual list of quick toggles are available right over there. Moving on, typing on the Mi Pad is easy enough with both hands. The built-in keyboard does a pretty good job, but you will need both hands to type comfortably on it. Again, you can always install another third-party keyboard in case you want to, but I really do think the built-in keyboard is good enough. The Mi Pad is also really good at handling multimedia, and it can play back HD videos with no problems or issues whatsoever. And of course, if you do find a codec that the Mi Pad can't play, you can always install VLC Player from the Google Play Store. That being said, the location of the rear speakers does mean that the Mi Pad gets muffled when you're playing a game in landscape, or even if you're holding it in landscape and watching a video. The speaker does tend to get muffled an awful lot, though I assume Xiaomi wants you to use earphones instead while playing games or watching videos. Okay, let's move on to the camera. The Xiaomi Mi Pad has a 8 megapixel rear camera with a 5 megapixel front facing camera for selfies. That's pretty impressive for a tablet in this price range, and as much as I hate people that use their tablets to take pictures in the wild, it always is nice and appreciated if a tablet has a really good camera. The camera app on the Mi Pad is a larger version of what you find on Xiaomi smartphones, though it doesn't have as many features available as the smartphone version. Still, the camera UI is pretty good if you're going to take pictures on this tablet. In terms of image quality, the Mi Pad's rear camera does take some pretty good photos in daytime situations. Colors are rich and well saturated, but details are kinda sketchy with quite a bit of noise creeping in. Since there's no flash or HDR mode, you probably won't be taking too many pictures at night, unless you don't mind taking a picture with a lot of noise. Honestly though, in that situation, your smartphone camera is probably going to do a better job. That all being said, the front-facing 5 megapixel camera is actually pretty good for selfies, and definitely comes in appreciated in video calls as well. As always guys, I have a whole bunch of camera samples from the Mi Pad right over at UnleashThePhones.com in case you want to see how good or bad that camera actually was. Alrighty, moving on to battery life. The Xiaomi Mi Pad is powered by a 6700 mAh battery. That's actually pretty good considering this is a Wi-Fi tablet that you probably won't use through an entire day. As a result, I was able to get about 3 to 4 days of usage out of the Mi Pad, but this is with a couple hours each day of watching videos and browsing the internet and maybe playing a couple games. I was actually able to get about 11.5 1.5 hours worth of video playback out of the Mi Pad with the screen on medium brightness, which means the Mi Pad was able to last through a flight, a layover, and another flight with me, which all in all is pretty good battery life for a tablet. Alrighty, here's the conclusion. The Xiaomi Mi Pad succeeds in being the first interesting Android tablet to come along in a while. Of course, this is mostly because of its combination of high-end specs and a very affordable price tag. While Android on tablets isn't as necessarily a pleasant experience as iOS on iPads, Xiaomi's UI is nice enough, but most third-party Android apps are not really optimized for their resolution or aspect ratio. But while that reason alone might make it hard to justify a high-end Android tablet, the Xiaomi Mi Pad is priced so affordably that it just so happens to be plain and simple incredible value for money. In fact, when you think about it, the only thing that boasts something similar is the Google Nexus 9, which is less portable and costs about double the price of the Mi Pad. At the end of the day, if you're looking to pick up an Android tablet, the Xiaomi Mi Pad is where the party's at. Heck, I don't even need an Android tablet, but I'm still tempted to pick up one. It is definitely recommended. Alright guys, so that's what I think about the Xiaomi Mi Pad. As always, if you guys have any questions about this tablet, you can let me know right in the comment section below, or check out the detailed written review right over at UnleashThePhones.com. And hey, if you like this review video, maybe hit the like button or maybe subscribe, because that would be appreciated. And that's about it. Thanks for watching guys.